Picture a 2D side-scrolling beat-em-up game. Now picture your favorite medieval game. Skyrim, The Witcher, doesn't matter. Now smash those two together into this conjoined ball of pure and utter perfection. Hello everyone, my name is Shmenty, and this is my tribute to Castle Crashers. This video is going to focus not only on the numbers behind this masterpiece, but also the emotions and memories that I have with this great game. So without further ado, let's dive right in. The year is 2008. The stock market is crashing. Obama is elected president. The Giants beat the Patriots. And on August 27th, a little arcade game drops onto the Xbox Live Store. Now don't get me wrong, 2008 was an amazing year for games. We have such classics as Mario Kart Wii, GTA 4, Fallout 3, and Call of Duty World at War. There were other absolute bangers that dropped during this time, but these are just some of them. So it wasn't exactly the perfect environment to make a classic arcade game. But the company behind it, the behemoth, didn't care. Castle Crashers dropped on August 27th, and it didn't make the largest impression. But the reviews behind it were good. Immediately, the numbers started growing. They reported over 2 million copies sold on Xbox 360 by the end of 2010, and in 2011 alone, they sold 2.6 million copies. The PlayStation 3 version was released in North America on August 31st, 2010, and a Steam version was released on August 16th, 2012. Now, if you don't know what Castle Crashers is, I do feel bad for you, but I'll give a brief synopsis. Basically, you started as a knight, or knights, because the multiplayer in this game is phenomenal, inside of a castle having a party. Basically, an evil wizard comes in, steals this big crystal off the king's throne. After that, everything is just a linear, regular, side-scrolling story. There's on-screen hints, but it's not too much hand-holding. It's not overwhelming. You go straight into a fight, and it doesn't really stop from there. After that, it plays like Super Mario Bros. Or anything else. One of the biggest factors that hooks you in is the art style. It's this cartoony, over-the-top, hand-drawn type of art style that everyone loved in games like Borderlands. The game, and the company behind it, doesn't take itself too seriously, much like the previous game that the behemoth dropped, which is Alien Hominid. There's plenty of examples of just the most childish humor you'll ever find, but there's a lot of darker themes, like meeting a necromancer in a room full of dead bodies. These quirks are what got younger me so immersed with this game. Now, I wasn't exactly the big gamer in the early 2010s, but I played a lot of browser games like Pop Tropica or everything on Cool Math Games. I had a Nintendo DSi, and my family owned a Wii. But when I first played this game at my friend's house during a sleepover on a cool night in 2012, I got my first taste of what truly loving a game was like. I created a character, I was all hopped up on sugar and caffeine, and I began grinding out the story with my closest friends at the time. The story of Castle Crashers is an interesting one. The thing is, you can speedrun it, like we did, in one night, but that's not truly experiencing it. There's so much more to it. There's little Easter eggs, there's more pets you can get, there's hidden weapons. Sometimes you have to kill the same enemy over and over again for an hour just to find a weapon that's a little bit better than yours or looks a little bit cooler than yours. The truth is, I had no idea what I was doing. I button smashed my way through countless enemies and the occasional friend, and I was completely hooked and completely immersed. We stayed up until early in the morning, and I loved absolutely every minute of it. The second I got home, I brought the game up on my Xbox and I started my own campaign. You see, you have a few options of characters when you start. The main ones being Red Knight, Blue Knight, Green Knight, Orange Knight. The red is electric, the blue is ice, the green is poison, and the orange is fire. I, being the toxic little kid I was, figured out just how cancerous the Red Knight's electric line ability is, and I picked him. So, the progression in this game is also pretty interesting. When you beat the game with one character, you unlock a next in that progression series, and then you unlock another one, and so on and so forth. So from the Red Knight, you go to a skeleton, and after him, you go to a panda. Speaking of progression, The RPG roguelike progression in this game is one of the most simple yet intuitive ways I've ever seen it handled in a game. You get these ability points every time you level up, and you have 4 categories. These categories are strength, magic, defense, and agility. There's no XP orbs that you pick up. The only kind of modifier that you can get is a giraffe pet that'll help you level up even faster. It's this simple yet somewhat intriguing UI design that makes it all on you. It's not some complicated RPG, weight level, anything like that. Everything about this game screams lovable. There is no overly complicated aspect in this game. If you were 2 years old, you could probably figure your way through this. And if you were 22 years old, you would still love it. It's games like this where they don't try to pander to just one audience. These are the classics that we know and love. My Red Knight campaign went by quickly, but it'll always be my favorite. I dug my Xbox out of a box today and I booted it up. I looked back on the games I used to play and looked and saw Castle Crashers on there. I heard that familiar music in the back and I just began to reminisce on the times I used to have on this absolute masterpiece. I don't talk to those friends that I had a sleepover with on that fateful night in 2012 anymore. We moved on to bigger things. But just for a small sliver of time, I was able to look back on the nights that I spent with them, the hours and hours we poured into this game. There's something about it that makes it timeless. I can't play a lot of games from the late 2000s because the story is wonky or the graphics looks weird. But Castle Crashers' art style is timeless, much like Borderlands, and the story still immerses me to this day. But all of that could go away as long as the one thing that I know and love about this game stayed. The soundtrack. The soundtrack of Castle Crashers is unlike anything I've heard out of any other game. It is so unique and so its own style that it's hard to put into words. I remember when I heard the music from the second level in a Geometry Dash level, and it brought me back to the game. It was weird, but I loved it. Everything about this music, everything about where it is, it's all just perfect. Some of my favorite ones include the pirate ship music, or even the final boss music. It's in its own level. There are other games with absolute stellar soundtracks, but Castle Crashers has to be first or second on my list. I love this game, its community, everything about it. If you've never tried it out, go check it out. Who knows, maybe you'll make some memories of your own. I can without a doubt say that this is my favorite side-scrolling game I've ever played. The soundtrack is perfect, the level design is immaculate, bosses are balanced, and the memories stick with you for life. Thank you guys so much for watching. This is my first video that I've ever made with this type of style. Feel free to give me any feedback on this, and make sure to comment anything you want a tribute to in the section below. I'm always open for suggestions. If you want, please consider liking and subscribing. It's free, and you can always unsub if you desire. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I put a lot of effort into it, and I'll see you in the next one. See ya.